Hey friends, welcome to the Bedros Keuilian Show. I'm Bedros Keuilian, and today is a very special day. This is episode 52, and that means we have been doing the Bedros Keuilian Show for an entire year. That's right. This episode right here marks the entire year that we've been running the Bedros Keuilian Show. It's been growing like gangbusters on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube, and it is because of you. Remember, I always say this, that I don't have a guest who sits in front of me that I'm going to interview and then send them the sizzle reel, and they're going to promote it to their following, and then we get more eyeballs on it. This show grows because you like it, engage with it, leave comments, share it with people, subscribe to it. And for that, I want to thank you. So what we did with episode 52 is we took the best of everything we've done the entire last 12 months, and we have put the best training, mentorship, coaching into this episode. So I want you to enjoy it. Here it goes.
Welcome to the Bedros Keuilian Show.
Every human has two characters within us. There's the inner critic, and then there's the inner advocate. The inner critic is there to tell us that we can't, that we're not good enough, that you don't have what it takes. So your inner critic is that voice that always limits and throttles your growth. Interestingly enough, you have an inner advocate as well. Your inner advocate, for most people, is in the trunk. Your job in life is to develop to such a high place that you metaphorically take your inner critic and you take him out of that passenger seat and you hogtie him, put duct tape across his mouth and throw him in your trunk. And then you take that advocate and you take him out of the trunk and put him in the passenger seat and let the advocate tell you what a badass you are, what a great human you are. You're capable of figuring anything out. You're a natural problem solver. People love you and they want to help you. That is what the advocate is there for. But unless you do the work, you will not hear the advocate over the critic. I believe that we're supposed to have both the critic and the advocate with us the entire time. You can't just get rid of the devil permanently. What you can do is over time begin to control and silence the devil or your inner critic. Well, the way you do that is through the self-work. Maybe it's therapy. Maybe it's always choosing hard over easy. Maybe it is putting through yourself through intentional suffering and adversity because life has become so easy. And it's that mindset of comfort, convenience, and complacency that gives voice to the inner critic. What you need to do is harder things. You need to lean into adversity. You need to choose deliberate suffering. Because when you do, that's how you silence your critic and then give voice to the advocate. But make no mistake about it, the advocate and the critic will always be in the car with you. Your actions, your deeds, your thoughts determine who's sitting in the passenger seat, the critic or the advocate. If you're a man and you don't feel that you can protect and provide and stay prepared, you're always going to have this feeling of hollowness and emptiness inside you, because as men, it is factory installed for us to want to protect and provide and stay prepared. But if we're not taught this by our parents, by our fathers, by our uncles, by our older brothers, by the men in the tribe, then you will feel this sense of emptiness inside you that's unfulfilling. This is so important because there is no game plan. There is no blueprint. There is no operations manual to becoming a man. It is tribal knowledge that has to get passed on from one man to another. Like there is no how to be a man. I know there's a little article I wrote on how to be a man, but don't for a moment think that that's the game plan. Like we are complex, and men before you and I have charted the way. And it is your job to seek out mentors who know the way of man. Now, guys, I share this with you because if you are not prepared, if you do not feel that you can protect, if you are ill-equipped to provide, you will feel a sense of emptiness. And one tiny little thing that I still had that was just gnawing away at me was, why are you socially drinking? Why? There's no reason. I don't even like to drink alcohol with food because it kills the taste of delicious food. It's fucking bitter. It's spicy. At 48, I get a little foggy and light, little light hangover the next day, even from one cocktail or two cocktails. What's the point? Yet retain water, which makes my beautiful muscles disappear for a day or two. Why would I drink alcohol? Why would I lean into that little vice socially? Oh, because it's socially acceptable. Like what happens when you go to a cocktail party? Well, since November 12th, I just asked for club soda or sparkling water over ice. And no one knows the difference. And I don't give a fuck if people ask, why aren't you drinking? Not even socially? That's a little extreme. You know what's extreme? Your poverty. Your poverty is extreme. Your fat, sloppy, unconditioned body is extreme. Your poor, negative, destitute mindset is extreme. It's an extreme example of what not to be to your kids, to your community, to your employees. So anyone that comes to me and says that a cocktail or two on a monthly basis is very acceptable, that's cool for you, bro. But I choose to be even more congruent. I choose to go up Maslow's hierarchy of needs to the point of self-actualization. I realize that life is a game. And if you are that vape hitting, alcohol drinking, porn watching, gambling, food over consuming, television binge watching, Cheeto dust in your belly button, wearing this baggy, fucking oversized basketball shorts all weekend long around the house, if you're that guy, take one of these steps, brother. And if you're like, man, I got most of my shit dialed in, B, I only have this vape addiction. I only just watch porn every now and again. I only just gamble here and there. Bro, remove one of those things. I'm 48 years old, and November 12th, 2022, I made the commitment to stop drinking, and I'm not an alcoholic. I made the commitment so that I can become even more congruent because I listen to my radiance. I listen to my conscience. I know what the universe, God, the creator wants from me. Every day he pushes me to become a servant of humanity. And every day to serve you better, I must role model. What would happen if you actually set higher standards for yourself? What would happen if you disconnected from people who are crop dusters and only hung out with fighter jets? In my book, Man Up, I talk about how there's two types of people in this world, crop dusters and fighter jets. Fighter jets are people who are driven by purpose, who lead themselves through discipline, focus, and consistency. And then crop dusters are people who are impulsive. Crop dusters are people who are emotional. Crop dusters are people who have vices and addictions that control them instead of them controlling the outcome of their lives. And what would happen if you just disconnected from the crop dusters in your life and actually leaned into higher standards, higher expectations? And then you started surrounding yourself with people who are of higher standards and higher expectations, because rising tides lift all ships. I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I don't want to be the strongest person in the room. I don't want to be the most self-developed person in the room. Because if I am, then I'm going to sink down to the average of the room. Instead, I want to come into a room and be the dumbest person so I could elevate up. I want to be the least self-developed so I can elevate up. I want to be the least strongest so I can elevate up. What are you doing to put yourself around people like that, who are of higher caliber, who are of fighter jet material? What is your purpose? And so you might wonder then, hey man, how do I find my purpose? Like, where do I start? Right? How do I develop it? For me, remember I said I started off as a personal trainer. And I started off as a personal trainer because I would have done it for free. I would have trained people for free if I could help them have the aha moment that I did, that I got more confident, I built more self-esteem, I had more self-value, self-worth, right? I got fit and jacked and athletic, and I was so proud of my physique. I was like, man, I would do this for free. And so I'm asking you, if you want to develop your purpose, challenge yourself. If all of your life expenses were taken care of and you still have the same awesome lifestyle, you don't have to worry about running your business, what would you go out there and do for free? Then be so good at it that people pay you. Listen, I stopped taking all of those and I started taking this, the Keuilian Wellness Shot. In fact, I created this because I was sick and tired of every morning taking 11 different supplements like turmeric, ginger, cayenne pepper, black pepper, vitamin B12, echinacea, vitamin C, zinc, right? Think about this. If you want to improve your immune system, if you want to fight off inflammation in your body so that you have better gut health, you have more energy, your joints don't hurt, then you're going to want to take all those supplements. And I was taking it twice a day, every day. And so when we created the Keuilian Wellness Shot, we cut no corners and we spared no expense. And so in this, you've got something that's going to not only help boost your immune system, but also fight off inflammation. Because if you're a high performer and if you want to get more done, if you want to stay more focused, if you want to make sure that you don't get sick as frequently, then you have to care about your immune system and you have to fight off inflammation, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you're high performing and you have a stressful work day from time to time, right? And so here's what I want you to do. You're going to click on the link in the description box or go to truelean.com and you're going to use the code word Bedros. And when you use my name, Bedros, you'll get 50% off your first subscribe and save bundle. For whatever reason you don't like the Truly Wellness Shot, which I've yet to meet anyone who doesn't, then let us know in your first 30 days. We'll give you a full refund. Part ways as friends. Fair enough? Go check it out. Use the code word Bedros. Get 50% off. Peace. When I leave HQ, after I clear my text messages and emails, I turn off all notifications. Now, just so you guys know, I have all notifications for social media turned off at all times. If you have notifications on, and I know there's gurus out there that will tell you, turn on notifications, turn on my notifications. You know what? Fuck them. I'll tell you why, fuck them. Think about this. You're doing something super important for your work, for your business, for your family, and all of a sudden you get pinged that your favorite guru just posted something. You're really gonna stop what you're doing and impulsively go and check that notification, tell your kids or your business that they're an afterthought. You don't want that. So you got to have all notifications turned off. Now, in addition to that though, when I leave HQ, I turn off the ringer, text notifications, anything that would distract me from my family, because I'm not interested in getting distracted while I'm with my family, because that will send a message to my family that they are second-class citizens compared to the call or the text or the email or the notification that comes in. See, that requires a high level of discipline. Oftentimes, man, someone else holds the pen in your life. You know, you're born as a kid and maybe you're chunky. And so your parents tell you, oh, you know, this kid's chunky and this kid is a little fat and oh, you're clumsy and you're falling here and there. And as you grow up, they tell you that, you know, you were a chunky kid. You were a big kid when you were born. You were clumsy, and you start believing the fact that you're supposed to be fat your whole life. That you're supposed to be clumsy your whole life. And then you start believing the fact that, you know, hey, because dad works 3 jobs and dad's always broke, that you're supposed to be broke. That that's just how it is in our family. That is not. You could be the one in your family to change the trajectory of your bloodline. I'm the one in my family. I'm the one. And it is important for you to take that pen back that people have written in your book of life and realize there's many other pages that are blank that you could start rewriting how the story goes. But you have to give yourself permission first, permission to heal, permission to realize that you're not broken, that you are lovable, you are worthy, that you are capable. You have everything you need. There's not a goddamn thing that someone else has that you don't have. If you can learn how to sell, learn how to influence, learn how to persuade, learn how to get people to side with you, learn how to get people to give you money in exchange for a product or service that delivers value, then you have developed a skill that will always be needed during times of recession, depression, during the peak of the economy, when everything's thriving. You will always make more money than the average person if you develop the skill to sell. Whether you're an entrepreneur, you're a doctor, it doesn't matter. Like if you're a doctor and this patient needs a surgery and they're afraid and they watched, you know, they Googled and they saw some Google articles that was like, man, there's a high risk to that surgery, but you're like, man, look, I know I can help you. I can give you the surgery and you're going to be fine. You need to develop the ability, the skill to sell that patient so that they will get that surgery that's going to save their life. Wouldn't you agree? Or if your son or daughter is going down a wrong path in life, wouldn't you want to develop the skill to sell them, influence them, persuade them so that they can become congruent with who you want them to be in life versus who they're about to be by going down the wrong path of drugs or OnlyFans or God knows what fucking young people do these days, right? So develop the ability to sell. It is, and if you're like, well, listen, I'm not good at selling. Yes, you are. You've talked people into many things in your life. Like ever since we were kids, we talked our parents into like staying awake a little longer. We talked your parents into eating another fucking jelly donut. Right? We talked your parents into going to that amusement park, whatever the thing is. And so I'm here to tell you that you do have the organic ability to sell, influence, and persuade. Now, if you actually start buying books on selling, you start taking courses, you start watching YouTube videos and listen to podcasts that teach how to sell and overcome objections and really stack the value and ask for money, man, what a great skill to have Even if you're going to be a cop, a firefighter, a plumber, anything, it doesn't matter. Selling is a high value, high income skill that you want. I also admire a man who's a gentleman to all, who can open doors, who can say please and thank you, who when walking with a child or a woman or an elderly person can walk on the street side of the sidewalk. When going up an escalator, a man who stands behind his family. When going down an escalator, he stands in front of his family. A man who can be a protector, right? A gentleman. You might be like, wow, I didn't know a gentleman could be. Yes, gentlemen must protect. You must be a savage and a servant. And a gentleman, to me, is a combination of savage and servant, equal parts, perfectly balanced into a gentleman. Don't be a motherfucking Captain Save-A-Ho, because when you get married to this chick and when you try and start a life with her, she's gonna constantly be this tornado of problems each time you're trying to do something big, and you're gonna realize, I can't start that company, I can't make those millions, I can't transform people's lives, I can't serve humanity, because each time I try, she is taking a massive shit on my life. And then I'm gonna tell you, when you're going through a divorce, 10 to 15 years after marrying crazy chick, hey bro, remember on that podcast when I told you so? So I'm telling you right now, don't be a Captain Save-A-Ho. Don't try and save crazy. Don't try and save someone who is unsavable. Instead, find someone who's equally yoked. Find someone who shares your core values. Find someone that will back you up. Find someone that will say they believe in you. They will advocate for you. And when you do, be so fucking awesome to her that all she wants to do is support you and be your one-woman pit crew. And if you can do that, I'm telling you, man, you will force multiply the impact and income that you will make in life. I was that fat, lazy kid. And when I see fat, lazy men abusing their bodies who now have children, and therefore you're role modeling to your children what devastation looks like while telling your kids to eat right, to get their rest, to exercise and get good grades, while you're living a life of hypocrisy, it doesn't sit with me. But I also know I'm just on the fence, man. I'm just on the fence. I'm one bad decision away from skipping a workout. I'm one bad decision away from not eating right. I'm one bad decision away from picking up another drink. The rich and successful focus on personal development. They focus on becoming a better version of themselves. They focus on maybe reading books. They focus on having coaches and mentors. They focus on working through their shit, their psychological trauma that is limiting and destroying their success. Things that are maybe causing self-sabotage or this glass ceiling that you keep butting up against. You don't have to do that. You could focus on personal growth, personal development, work with a therapist, do your ayahuasca, read books, apply to your life. And before you know it, you're a fucking better version of yourself. And I'm here to tell you, and you've heard me say this before, 6s and 7s are not going to create level 8, 9, and 10 money or meaning or opportunity or fulfillment. So if you're a level 6 or a 7, you first have to develop into a 8 or a 9 to be able to get that level of success and fulfillment. Nothing is fatal or final other than death. Man, when I was younger, I used to think that, if I screw up here, it's gonna be embarrassing. If I mess this up, this will be the end. I might end up homeless. If I don't get this right, it's gonna ruin my reputation. And I would always hold back on what I needed to do in life because I was so afraid to go all in, because I always labeled things as fatal and final. When in reality, nothing is fatal or final except death. You can't come back from death. You can come back from broke. You can come back from making a stupid decision. You can come back from messing up your reputation. You can come back from anything. Nothing is fatal. Nothing is final other than death. So with that said, if there's something you want to do, there's an experience you want to have, there's something you want to try, there's a business you want to launch, there's a girl you want to ask, there's a thing you just got to do. Like, do it. And if you fall flat on your face, your reputation is fucked up, you're embarrassed, you go broke, you're living out of your car for a period of time, who cares? That is the human experience, don't you see? Imagine what a hell of a ride you will have had when you're on your deathbed thinking back about the time that you tried that one thing and then it completely went to shit and you somehow ended up living in your car but came back from that and lived a decent life. And what a story to tell. If you can get rid of that first thing that I told you about, which is if you can get rid of the doubt that lingers in your head, right? Because doubt will start taking roots. Doubt will begin to create this tree of uncertainty within you, and you will begin to listen to that critic who begins to negotiate your dreams and hopes away. So if you can eliminate doubt, and if you can build confidence, I believe that you are like 50% there in terms of achieving your life's goals. So what is the secret to confidence? Well, first, when you make a promise, keep a promise. I'm not talking about just making a promise to people around you and then keeping that promise. I'm talking about making a promise to yourself. And when you start making promises, small, tiny promises that seem insignificant right now, but over time stack up and build massive confidence, that's what you're doing. Because your confidence is really your reputation with yourself. And if you keep breaking promises to yourself, what you're really doing is you are eroding your trust with self. We've talked about this before on the show. There's the human animal, and then there's the human being who's connected to conscience. And if you're connected to source, if you're tapped in and you're connected to consciousness, then guess what? Consciousness knows what the higher self wants. You know that. And your conscience knows that. And if you go against that, you start feeling anxious, depressed, sad. You begin to self-sabotage because, well, you started stacking L's, man, instead of W's. So confidence is a byproduct of keeping promises to yourself. It's a byproduct of stacking wins. It's a byproduct of doing hard things, like choosing to do a hard thing. Do you know how much confidence that builds when you get to week 6 and then you either get in the ring and fight, or you get on the mats and roll, in terms of a competition, or you cross that finish line on that marathon? Do you know how much confidence you have built in that time? And that confidence from that marathon or that jujitsu or the MMA, it bleeds into every other area of your life. That's what's powerful about this. And so when you are confident, you will experience temporary defeat. When you are insecure and you lack confidence, you will interpret temporary defeat as failure and you will give up. And that is how people become average. That is how people stay average. And that is how years will go by and you'll see that person, you go, man, they had so much potential, but for some reason failed to launch in life. And then it's because they accepted doubt and they eroded confidence. What are the things that you can do to scale a business? Well, number one, you got to ask yourself, can I delegate this? So going back to Rachel Shear, can she delegate some of the services? Yeah, she can delegate the marketing. She can delegate the sales. She can delegate the coaching services. So if you can delegate, then you can grow. Delegation is a scale factor. What else is a scale factor? Can I automate a process, right? If you can automate a process, that allows you to scale. Can I go wide in terms of my reach? And if so, then you got yourself another opportunity there to scale. Also, can it be delivered in a group environment instead of one-on-one? And another scale factor then is, can it be sold through affiliates, where you can use others to get more people into your business? You're fit, you're making more money, you are interesting, you have all these hobbies, you are posting about them, you are out in the world doing them, you are connecting it with people, you are friends, you are social. Oh my God, you're not anxious anymore, you're not depressed, you are happy, you are putting out a positive signal, you are whole, you are healed, you love yourself, bro. Therefore, you are loved by others. And guess what happens next? You begin to magnetically attract the right one. It ain't rocket science, but it does take work. And if you're willing to do that work, you will get the outcome. I literally gave you the game plan on how you become the 10 so that you can attract the 10. But if you stay broken, unlovable, financially broke, dependent, desperate, addicted, guess what? At best, you're going to attract a 4, and it's going to be like a fucking Mississippi 4. I'm not even talking about California 4. California 4, just so you know, on the scale, is a 7 in Mississippi. Like a fucking Mississippi 4 in California is a -2. And I don't want that for you, man. You don't need a toothless chick who's dependent on you. But if you're walking around in fucking loose basketball shorts with fucking Cheeto dust in your belly button, living in your mom's basement, emotionally distressed, can't handle life, that's probably at best what you deserve. Or maybe a couple of $9 a month memberships to OnlyFans. Fuck that shit, man. You deserve more. I want more for you. I love you to pieces, and that is why I'm telling you this, man. Now, the next thing I also want you to use to develop charisma. Charisma. There's an energy about charisma. The ability to banter, crack a joke, be self-deprecating, just the right amount of self-deprecating. Right? To make people laugh. Because if you can make people laugh, if you can make people think, and you can make people cry, not by being an asshole, but make them cry as in know how to tell an emotional story, man, you have got that person eating out of the palm of your hands. There used to be a time that men would sit around a fire pit and they would tell stories. Some were jokes. Some were heroic stories. Others were sad stories. Those days are gone. Learn to be charismatic. Learn to tell stories. Learn to ask questions. If you are not showing up as a confident person, it's because you are breaking the little promises. And those promises start, by the way, the night before when you set your alarm to wake up tomorrow morning, and then the morning comes, your alarm goes off, and then you hit the snooze button. You, my friend, just broke a promise. You chose 10 or 15 minutes of shitty sleep over getting up and keeping your word to yourself and dominating your path. You just told your subconscious mind that you're an imposter and that you're a hypocrite, you're a liar, you're not to be trusted. That is how we erode our confidence. That is how we begin to create self-doubt. That is how that inner voice gets louder and louder and louder and has more control over us and forces us to go the way of comfort, convenience, complacency. Instead of choosing hard, we start choosing easy. Each time that you break a promise to yourself, each time that you are not able to keep that promise, each time that you are a hypocrite or a imposter, even on the little things, like, I was told myself I'm going to work out this morning, but then you didn't. And yeah, you make some bullshit excuse. Well, I didn't work out because I didn't sleep well. Then I was late to work. And so I'll work out harder tomorrow. Guess what? You stacked an L. And if you keep stacking L's, you are going to have undeniable evidence that you're a fucking loser. You understand that? And if you're a loser, you cannot have high confidence and high self-esteem. Instead, you will have high self-doubt because the inner critic, the devil, your inner bitch voice, will constantly control your mind and negotiate with your actions. You'll never elevate to your higher self. Are your employees bought into your company, into your brand, into your vision, into your mission? If they're not bought in, they're just there to get a paycheck, guess what? Then they're exactly that. They're employees. Employees are like crop dusters. They clock in a little late. They clock out a little early. They do the bare minimum to maintain employment. They only work in their own little silo. They don't really care about what the other departments are doing because they're there to collect a paycheck. See, I don't have employees in my building. I don't have employees in my organization. They're all team members. We're a fucking team. And we know exactly what sport we're playing. We know exactly where the field is, and we know exactly the rules of the game. And then we play that game to win. And when you're a high-performing team member, you are bought into the vision. You're all in. I know every single one of my team members here work extra hours on their own beyond these four walls. I know that irrefutably. Like, I know that when I figure out how I'm going to pay them, how I'm going to compensate them, bonuses I'm going to give them, I factor in the fact that these are people who work beyond their work hours. Even if I told them not to, they're just wired that way because those are the types of people we hire. We hire people that are high speed, tightly wound, and have like high expectations of themselves, just like me, because the leader sets the tone of that organization, right? And so I'm looking for people who are driven by my vision, that are bought into my vision. So success, holistically, is all of that. Relationship, health, money, peace of mind, great sleep, fitness. And that's important for you to understand because no one owes you that. You are not owed that. You were born into this world by yourself. Yeah, but I got a mom and dad and siblings. Yeah, but you're by yourself. On your deathbed, it will be you. You may have people around you holding your hand, praying for you, letting you know how much they love you, but it will be you dying and not them. That's the reality. We come into this world alone. We die alone. What we do between those times is success or failure. So success is your responsibility. Your mom and dad don't owe it to you. Your siblings don't owe it to you. Your school teachers don't owe it to you. Your grandparents don't owe it to you. Your boss doesn't owe it to you. Your business partner doesn't owe it to you. Your wife doesn't owe it to you. Your kids don't owe it to you. And you're like, yeah, I'd be successful, but if it wasn't for being broke, being a foreigner, being black, being white, being Chinese, if it wasn't for the economy, for Biden, who gives a fuck what your skin color is, who the president is, where you came from, how much money you make, what your socioeconomic thing is, what your gender is? And I know there's 19 genders out there. Pick any one. None of that fucking matters because success is your responsibility. Oh, but I'm transsexual, transvestite, LGBTQ, and I have 9 different flags I fly, so I'm confused. Success is still your responsibility, baby girl. Fly your fucking freak flag. I'm all for it. But success is your responsibility. Don't be a fucking victim. Don't expect any preferential treatment for the lifestyle that you want to live. That's personal responsibility at the highest level. What I want to do is make sure that I'm not a liability to my family today by being fat, overweight, sick, having the precursors of disease. Cancer grows in obesity and fat. We know that hypertension, heart disease, diabetes, all of these things are promoted through obesity. And the most dangerous man in America today, because if you take all of the dad bods, I started doing the research on this, and you take all of those dad bods and you bring them all together in one state, that state would be larger than Texas. I did the research. Tell me that's not a dangerous way to live. And it would be like a country larger than Australia. The number of men that we have that are pear-shaped, that are weak, that can't carry their own weight, that are hypertensive, that are pre-diabetic, that have cholesterol issues at such a young age is at an all-time high. And if you have a family, you are ruining them as well, not just your health, but by putting yourself at risk and putting yourself in a position where you're unable to provide for them, you now put yourself in a position where they have to figure out what to do with you when you have that heart attack, when you become diabetic, when you might have that stroke. The universe punishes the lazy. The universe is just and fair. So the universe will never allow you to work towards something and not deliver the outcome. The universe also knows when you are faking it, when you're making a half-hearted attempt, and it will deliver despair. See, that's the beautiful thing about universal laws, is that the universe is just and fair. It doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care what color you are, what religion you are, what gender you are, what freak flag you fly. The universe goes, hey, you know what? I will conspire with you to deliver whatever outcome you want in life, but you must do the work. And in the absence of the work over a designated period of time, I will make sure that you feel the pain of your laziness, of your complacency, and of your desire of wanting an outcome without putting in the goddamn work. Doesn't that make sense? Like, why should I have to put in 20 years of hard work, coming here as an immigrant to this country, going through all types of trauma in my life, putting myself in massive debt, suffering and painfully clawing through adversity to bring myself to a place of financial success, relational success, fulfillment, happiness, and bliss? Why would I have any respect for someone who does not respect themselves to put that effort in and create the desired outcome like I have? And therefore, the universe does not respect you either. And I need you to understand that the universe will punish the lazy and it will reward you when you have put in the time and the work. Because I hear this often, guys. I hear this when people say, well, what if I put in all that time and effort and I don't get the results? That is not how the world works. That is not how the universe works. It's almost formulaic. There's a certain amount of work to be done over a certain amount of time, and the outcome is given. I lead when I'm called upon. I follow when I must. I like to think I'm a pretty good leader. I like to think that I make some good decisions. But guess what? I've never been in the military. I've never been to war. So if I were going to go to war and my good friend Ray, who's a former Navy SEAL, and my other good friend Redmond, Jason Redmond, another retired Navy SEAL, were in that combat scene with me, I would now be led by them. I am now out of my zone of genius. So I lead when called upon in areas that I am the expert, in areas that I have situational dominance in: entrepreneurship, leadership and management of people, communication, crafting a vision, risk-taking in the attempt of making money. Those are my zone of genius. I will lead when I feel called upon. The people that I serve, my team, my family, my community, my clients, I will lead them to the promised land of success. But I will also follow when I must if I am not the expert in that category of life. And so you must be in a position where you can lead when called upon, follow when you must. And of course, I'm not just going to follow some dipshit. I'm going to follow the people that I trust. I'm going to follow the men who I know have been in that combat situation before. And why is it that you have to aspire to greatness? Why is it that if you don't, what happens? Well, if you don't, what happens? You stay average. And you hear me say this all the time. The average man inspires no one. And make no mistake about it, if we are to make this country great, if we are to make this country whole, if we are to take this country to a whole new place of awesomeness and get rid of this stupid ideology, this wokeness that exists, if we are to fire the ice cream licking, hair sniffing, bumbling idiot of a president, you must set your sight on greatness. Like, it is your duty and it is your responsibility, because when you achieve greatness, you become a pebble that is released into a pond that creates a ripple. And your example of greatness will be infectious. You will inspire and infect others with greatness. If you sit there and you wonder, what can we do about this country? How can we save it? How can we help it? How can we change it? I'm telling you that you must aspire to the greatest version of yourself. That's what it takes. Your level of leadership, your level of discipline, focus, and consistency become the lid to your financial success. When you can level up as a leader and become more disciplined, focused, and consistent, the lid goes up, so does revenue, so does all of the work ethic, focus, consistency of all your employees and your team, right? Easy enough. There's a difference between the person who embraces the suck versus the person who is constantly trying to run away from discomfort, suckiness, pain, adversity. Whether it's adversity, whether it's suffering, whether it's pain, if you choose to run towards it, who you become on the other side of it is a newer, higher, more transcendent version of you. But most people want to do what? They see pain, they see suffering, they see potential for adversity, they see risk, and they begin to run away. They retreat. They go towards comfort, complacency. They go towards not feeling discomfort. And what that does is conditions you to be soft mentally and physically and emotionally. It doesn't put you in a place of experiencing growth. Now, sure, I get it. When we were cavemen, we certainly wanted to run away from any risk. We didn't want to experience any disaster. And so it is factory installed in you as a human to seek out comfort, to seek out complacency, consistency, right? Now, little do you know, your wife might be like, man, I don't respect this motherfucker. He's a fat, floppy, gelatinous tittied, baloney tittied loser. Comes home, doesn't go work out, takes his clothes off and leaves it all over the place. Why am I with this guy? But she's probably not telling you this. In fact, she's probably enabling you, right? This is that friend mentality. She's not an ally to you. If she was, she would say, sit down, motherfucker. If you want me to be the best fucking wife that you can have, then you're gonna have to be the best fucking husband that I expect. See, people don't have these ally conversations anymore. They just want to do the live and let live thing. And what ends up happening when you do the old live and let live is you let people degrade and degenerate themselves into human animals. And a human animal does what they feel like. A human animal does what their emotions tell them to do. A human animal does whatever selfishly suits them in the moment. A human being who's connected to consciousness, a human being says, I will do whatever I need to do, even if I feel this way. I will do the things that I promise to myself and to others because I am a man of high standards and reputation with myself. The number one person I don't want to let down is me. And so if I'm not going to let myself down, I have to do these things even if I don't feel like it, even if I'm tired, even if it's cold outside, even if it's raining. Even if I just didn't sleep well last night, I have to do the things that I promised myself to be able to build my personal credit score, my reputation with myself. All right, guys, there it is. Episode 52 is a wrap, and I appreciate you guys going on this journey with me over the last 12 months on the Bedros Keuilian Show, and I appreciate you engaging, connecting, sharing, commenting, and subscribing, and that is why the Bedros Keuilian Show continues to grow, and together we are helping more men elevate, rise up, and transcend to the higher self, the 2.0 self, through self-mastery, money, and meaning. And I always want to end by reminding you this: average is the enemy, success is your responsibility, and change can take place in an instant when you are willing to flip the switch. We'll see you next time.